war stories about soldiers getting creamed on the battlefield. Their morale is very low, and then somebody lifts the flag, and everyone sees the flag, and they are energized anew.
Right.
And what Jung would say is that
you coined the term collective unconscious. Do you mind defining what that is? Because it sounds like almost like an esoteric idea, but it's very real in the way that you describe in your book. And I would like for you to just speak on that a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So he was really, in some ways, building off of Sigmund Freud.
Mm-hmm.
Freud spoke about the unconscious as being a collection of things that we repress. So, for example, if I have an urge, let's say, he talked about the Oedipus complex, which a lot of people find bizarre, including myself. But to sleep with one's mother,
right.
That's totally unacceptable. And so what we would do is we would deny that we have that feeling, and it would get pushed down into the unconscious. So Freud identified the personal unconscious, this collection of ideas and drives and feelings that are unacceptable, and so we push them into darkness. Jung also recognized that, but he thought that there was a deeper strata than that, and that's the collective unconscious. And that's this bedrock psychology that we share as a species. And so, for example, every human being knows what it feels like to be happy. Every human being knows what it feels like to be sad. These are things in the collective unconscious. We all have mothers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And to a human being, a mother is more than just a biological organism who gave birth to us. We have ideas, feelings towards mother. And so this idea of mother, separate from the biological entity, is part of the collective unconscious. And so if you say the word mother to anybody on earth, we all share this understanding. It's about nurturing. It's about caretaking. It can also be negative things as well. It can also be about controlling.
Right. So this idea that there's things that are shared with our entire species. You use the idea of symbols, and I guess the mother would fall into that category of things that you can't entirely encapsulate in language, but it's a ubiquitous experience, or it's a ubiquitous understanding across a species.
Yeah, that's right. So the things in the collective unconscious, Jung called archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the archetypes he spoke about more in depth was the mother archetype, the hero, the naive youth, the wise old man.
Mm-hmm.
These are archetypes that we find in the folklore and mythology of every single culture. Now, since archetypes are in the unconscious, by definition, we cannot perceive them. But there are symbols, and what symbols in some way are a channel between the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. Symbol is something that we can actually perceive with the senses, or we can conceive as an idea that connect us to the unconscious archetypes. And let me give you an example.
Sure.
So one archetype is love of the group, love of the tribe.
Okay.
And today we might call that patriotism, right?
Right.
So a symbol of patriotism is the flag. And we've all heard stories, war stories, about soldiers getting creamed on the battlefield. Their morale is very low, and then somebody lifts the flag, and everyone sees the flag, and they are energized anew.
Right.
And what Jung would say is that symbol activates the archetype, and that archetype is what fills them with energy and hope and optimism and drive, and it's really the martial spirit of warfare. The ancients would say that was the god Ares, the Greek god of war that was possessing them. And in the book, I talk a lot about the connection between these ancient myths of gods and the archetypes. That when the archetype is activated, such as the warlike archetype of patriotism, in some ways it does feel as if we've been taken possession by a supernatural entity.